Hi everyone, this is Kim from the Way Rider Chronicles. I would like to expand on a theme that has been building over a number of videos. This time incorporating the news yesterday that Navalny, the Russian opposition political dissident, had died in a gulag somewhere in wherever it's mentioned on the news in some godforsaken place in northern Russia. The Navalny himself, I suppose, really came to my attention when with the CNN documentary, which was called simply Navalny, that came out in 2022. That was done by a Canadian filmmaker who's based in Los Angeles, a guy called Daniel Roher. This documentary was awarded an Oscar for the best documentary feature, and I watched it at the time. I think it was about a month after it came out on CNN, and it was very illuminating that this guy, he essentially made the decision to go back to Russia to, as we know now, a certain death. There's been lots of talk about that in the numerous articles published online since his death yesterday, about the fact that this documentary he actually foretells it, or there's a premonition, or he mentions that he was going back to die. But let's just take that one step back and go back to what I said at the beginning of this video, that there are two things that I'm expanding on. One of them is that dictators, autocrats, dictators or autocrats or strongmen, whatever you want to call them, usually elderly men in power, steal your future. The other thing that and based on my African origins, that's stealing your future by essentially a lovely expression, or a very useful expression that the South Africans have come up with, which is state capture, which I will go into more detail in a later video. Essentially, state capture is people that stop stealing the resources of everybody else for their own benefit, and not only them, but their whole hierarchy of people who support them, who they control. So they steal the future. But the second point I was making was that not only do they steal your future, but the history they use to legitimize their hold on power kills you. So your country's history is used to legitimize their hold on power, and at the same time, that history is effectively killing you because they don't want the history to change. They don't want their particular country's history to change. So anybody who stands in their way, they get eliminated. It happens worldwide. Navalny was, I suppose, the ultimate patriot. He went back knowing that what was going to happen to him, or there was much more, there was sort of like a 95% chance that he would get done in. The system, the prison system, even in much more civilized countries, well, let's not call them civilized, even in a place like America, if you're on the wrong side of whoever you're in prison with, you can die. So it's not surprising that in a brutal gulag system, or in the brutal gulag system that is the Russian state penal system, that somebody dies. If they want somebody to die, he's going to die. In this case, it's all very subtle, in the sense that it would have been a slow and painful death by not allowing any formal medical attention, and who knows, far north Siberia, or wherever the hell it was, freezing cold, get stuck in. He spent months in solitary confinement. That's enough to do anybody in. Anyway, I won't go into that. The point I'm making, he was the ultimate patriot, and he knew that he was going to go back. So there is hope for your average Russian who actually does not believe all the lies that are put forward by everybody in power. I'd like to quote, if I can find it, there's a Russian author, came across this saying, Elena Gurukova. She had an autobiographical novel called Goodbye Leningrad, which is based on her life under the Soviet dictatorship, so not under the current dictatorship, but under the old Soviet dictatorship. And she is quoted as saying, the rules are simple. They lie to us, we know they're lying, they know we know they are lying, but they still keep on lying, and we keep on pretending to believe them. Interesting quote, because that's exactly, nothing has changed from the Soviet system to the current, what are we going to call it, Putin system? Same thing. He lies to the Russian people all the time about what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in distance. And of course, we're coming up to elections. I mean, you can call them elections. We're coming up to a new consolidation of power, and he needs it to work. We shall see. Just one more point. If anybody, if people have access to the Wall Street Journal, or if you have a look at there's a photograph in there of Navalny's wife receiving the Oscar with his two children standing next to him. Now, if you look at their faces closely, you can see they're very proud, but at the same time, they know he's not going to survive. That's the way our articles for today. See you guys.